Hello everybody and welcome to the DTDcember Season 2 finale. For those of you who didn't watch my previous videos, this is a series in which I'll be counting down my top 24 greatest missions in Grand Theft Auto. If you want to know more about how this is going to work, check out my introductory video where I explain this whole thing. And if you haven't yet, make sure to watch my previous episodes to see which missions have already made my list. Also, feel free to watch last year's DTDcember where I counted down my top 12 GTA villains of all time. Alright, no more plugging, let's finish this series.
Bad year, man, I'm sick of getting old, yeah. Wanna stay a kid and I love it when it's cold, yeah.
A few episodes ago, I talked about how nearly every GTA has that one big heist in its story, and I also mentioned how that heist usually ends up being one of the best missions in its respective game. As we all know, one of GTA 5's big gimmicks is that it's all about planning and executing heists, and while some of them may have missed the mark a little bit, I think it's safe to say that both versions of the game's final heist, The Big Score, absolutely lived up to its hype. For this entry, we'll be talking about each approach to the heist since they're both pretty damn good, but let's start off with the one that I believe to be the weaker of the two, the subtle approach. In this version, most of our team heads out from Trevor's strip club to intercept a couple of convoy vans before they reach the Union Depository, all while Trevor and Michael bicker like annoying children. Once the vans approach, we deploy a set of spike strips to initiate an ambush so that we can hijack them and impersonate the crew. Then once the original crew is out of the picture, we take one of them with us and force him to help us get into the building. Following a tense security check, we're given access to the vault and are even escorted as we wheel the 4 tons of gold into the back of our vans before we take off to conclude the first stage of this heist. Then as we drive away, we get word that Merryweather is searching the city for us. So this leads us into a unique minigame where we get to control the traffic lights throughout downtown and must navigate the vans to safety without them getting spotted. However, after our protagonists regroup outside the strip club, Merryweather still, somehow, manages to find us. So while the rest of the crew loads the metal into our getaway cars, we take control of our trio to fend off the mercenaries. And just in time for the cops to catch wind of our heist since we attain a 5-star wanted level as soon as all the gold is loaded. What follows is a fun and actionful chase sequence in which we have to follow the pack of muscle cars while the police attempt to run us off the road. This Fast and Furious-like race through the streets of Los Santos comes to an end in this tunnel where we cleverly hide inside of a couple of semis while we're out of sight of the cops, thus completing our clean getaway. Afterwards, we leave the metal with the crew and drive back to Michael's, all while he and Trevor continue to bitch and moan, causing Franklin to understandably lay into them both. Nevertheless, we eventually meet with Lester so we can all celebrate pulling off the impossible together, but unfortunately, everybody instead just starts screaming at each other like a supposedly happy family when somebody brings up Donald Trump until Franklin gets pissed and storms off. And that's how it ends. I like this version of the heist for its calm, cool, and collected nature that really shows off the professionalism of our crew of seasoned bank robbers. I mean, no other crew, besides obviously the Payday Gang, could realistically walk into the most highly secured bank in the world, convince them to hand over $200 million worth of gold, and walk away clean. Of course, there are a few hiccups in the form of Merryweather, which, thank God for this, because it would have been pretty disappointing if the final heist didn't involve some sort of shootout. And another hiccup when the police eventually discover us, but apart from that, I really like how well executed this version of the heist feels. I could take or leave all the bickering between our protagonists, and I'm honestly not a fan of how negative the ending feels. But besides all that, it's still a cool and fun heist overall. As for the obvious approach, meanwhile, this thing truly scratches that itch of chaos and violence that a supposedly ultimate heist should provide. In this version, after our protagonists head out of the strip club, we all split up to perform our various roles. For Michael, he's tasked with meeting up with one of our gunmen to create a diversion inside the bank where they'll pretend to rob it. As for Franklin, he'll be underground with our other gunmen drilling a fucking hole into the vault, which garners the attention of Noose despite the distraction, forcing us to fend them off while our hired gun loads the gold into these crates. This leads us to Trevor, who will be carrying the gold out of the UD and out of the city when we take control of him. As he and our other driver fly away, we'll regain control of the reunited Michael and Franklin and will battle for our lives against the LCPD while we flee on foot to reach our getaway vehicle, after which we'll have to escape an intense and unscripted 5-star wanted level. Then once we've evaded the police, we'll switch back to Trevor and continue to transport the gold out of town, just to be intercepted by Merryweather. Thankfully, we have the real fucking gamer Lester Crest with us, and he knows his way around the noob tube. So as we hold the chopper steady, he manages to wipe out the opposing helicopters before we deposit the gold onto that train we stole. It's a long story. With that, the majority of our crew regroups at Mackenzie Field to rejoice in pulling off the greatest heist in history, just for Trevor to buzzkill the whole mood because he's still on his period about Brad or something. Regardless, following a short debrief, we all split up up and conclude the job. Personally, this is my favorite of the two versions of this heist due to all the action and chaos that unfolds throughout it. As cool as it is to see our boys stealthily rob the Union Depository and make it look easy, the fact is it's much more fun to just brute force our way into the bank and take their gold without asking nicely. Plus, the fact that the obvious approach ends on a much higher note than its subtle counterparts is also a huge bonus. Overall, both of these heists are fun in their own ways, and they offer plenty of unique elements that are either pretty uncommon or don't really exist in the rest of the series. Like the rare, unscripted, and high-star police chase where you have to actually lose the cops on your own to progress, rather than lose them automatically when you get to a certain checkpoint. As well as the puzzle-like hacking minigame where you get to control the city's traffic lights and can fuck with them however you please. Or the aerial dogfight through the windmill farm where you need to help Lester aim at your enemies. And on top of it all, this job really feels like the climactic, great big heist that the whole game has been building towards. And when you manage to pull it off, you truly feel unstoppable. So for all of these reasons, both versions of Grand Theft Auto 5's The Big Score will take the bronze medal in this year's DTDcember. Now, let's get away from this hairy chest and move forward to second place to see who really is the best. All the way back in episode 1 of this series, I told you that GTA 5's finale was the lowest ranked finale on my list by a wide margin. And now you get to see just how wide that margin is, since almost the entire month later, we finally reached the next finale, Last Stand from Vice City Stories. Ever since I first played this game, this mission has without a shadow of a doubt been one of my favorites in this entire series for a variety of reasons. Because of its fun and high-octane action, its climactic, multi-level sequence, its ridiculously badass nature, and its ultimately satisfying conclusion. But as much as I'd love to leave it there, let's take a more in-depth look into why this mission is as awesome as it is. Unlike some of the other games in the series, Vice City Stories' campaign continuously builds towards its finale from the very beginning, when we're introduced to our degenerate main antagonist, Jerry Martinez, who wastes little time in derailing our protagonist's life by getting him kicked out of the military. As we try to bounce back, we end up meeting a nice woman, Louise, and proceed to fall in love with her as we help her escape her abusive marriage. And along the way, our brother Lance comes to town to help us establish our up-and-coming criminal empire. In the process, we take some revenge upon Martinez by stealing his shipment of coke, but in doing so, we inadvertently draw the ire of Vice City's top drug lords, Diego and Armando Mendez, which leads to us serving them in an indentured manner, since it'd be too racist to call our partnership one of slavery. But regardless of such implications, by getting between Martinez and the Mendezes, the Vances ultimately find themselves in everyone's crosshairs as both villainous parties target our businesses as well as our loved ones. And as I established a few episodes ago, the Mendezes eventually managed to eliminate Louise. From here on, Vic Vance is no longer a man who cares about growing his empire or even surviving. Instead, he becomes determined to exact his revenge or die trying. And if you needed proof of such determination, he manages to single-handedly infiltrate his old military base and steal an attack helicopter. Once we have what we need, we fly out to Diego Mendez's last known location and storm the skyscraper with our new military chopper's missiles until one of his goons lands a lucky shot with a rocket, forcing us to crash land on the building's roof before walking away from the burning chopper like a fucking badass. Now that we're on foot, we enter the building and clear each floor of Mendez's men like a one-man army. But while we're busy with them, Martinez gets the same idea to take out Mendez, and since we're here too, he sicks his men upon us to push us back up to the roof. Meanwhile, we also find Diego and begin chasing him, but before we can catch up, we're intercepted by both his goons as well as Martinez's helicopter, which initiates a cool battle sequence where we have to alternate between hiding from the chopper, attacking the chopper, and killing the infantry. Anyway, once we've downed the bird, we continue up to the roof to find Mendez, only to be confronted by Martinez. However, in the midst of our final dialogue with our main antagonist, our other protagonist interrupts the proceedings by threatening him. This leads us back into gameplay where our Mexican standoff breaks down into a three-way shootout. Well, technically, it's 2 against 1, but I prefer to follow the narrative here. It's then up to us to kill both of our remaining villains, to both avenge the loss of our love and to get even for uprooting our honest life. Then, once the job is finished, we get a funny moment where Lance arrives a little bit late but still ready to help his brother. But after Victor clears up the confusion, we get a heartwarming moment between the brothers as they celebrate their victory, which is immediately juxtaposed when Lance informs him of some more coke he's ready to sell, sparking a justifiable crash out from our protagonist. Nevertheless, when the Vances get back on the same page, we get a couple of still shots of the villains' lifeless bodies, before we fly off into the sunset to officially conclude the 3D era. Let me tell you, after playing through all of Vic's trials and tribulations, and after experiencing all of his losses, both minor and major, seeing him turn into this killing machine and being able to truly embody a real GTA protagonist for the first time in this game, it's so special to me because I feel the rage behind every bullet that explodes out of his gun. Upon seeing this honest man get continuously screwed by the awful people above him in this world throughout the story, it feels so good to see him take his revenge and go on to live peacefully until the inevitable happens in Vice City. But that's not the only reason why I've ranked this mission so highly on my list. Yes, the emotions I felt while playing through it definitely made it feel more climactic, but I've also got to point out how much fun and intense the mission itself is. From the jump, this mission runs at 100 miles an hour and refuses to slow down. As I said, you started off by powerfully terrorizing this tower by blasting it with an attack helicopter, and even when you get shot down, the action still doesn't stop because you get to immediately go inside and run through multiple floors to straight up exterminate an entire cartel. The sequence where you go back and forth between attacking Martinez's helicopter and killing Mendez's remaining goons is really cool too. And the ending where we kill both of our antagonists just by gunning them down is so simple but so effective. My only genuine complaint about this mission is that I don't think it's long enough. Realistically, you can easily beat it in around 10 minutes or so, which is pretty crazy because when I played through it for the first time, it felt like I must have been going for a solid 15 or 20 minutes given how much destruction had taken place throughout it. But I won't complain too hard about this because I'd rather it be short and sweet than long and grueling. If you've seen my past videos talking about Vice City stories, be it my retrospective on the game, my couple of entries into last year's DTDcember where I ranked its villains pretty close to the top of my list, or even my entries into this year's DTDcember where I've talked about its missions, then you'll know that I like its story a whole freaking lot. I find Vic to be pretty relatable and can easily sympathize with his struggles. I think its antagonists are really great, and I just love this game's fun and unique missions. Because of all of this, it's very easy for me to enjoy its finale since it excellently showcases Vic's emotions. I love seeing those scumbag villains go down, and the mission itself is just really enjoyable. But on top of everything, this is the most memorable mission in the entire game, and it's for all of these reasons that I just listed. When I think of Vice City stories, this is the mission that always comes to mind without fail. And if that weren't enough, it's also one of the first missions that I think of just when Grand Theft Auto itself enters my mind in general. So for that reason and all of the others that I've gone over, Last Stand will take the silver medal on my list in this year's DTDcember. But of course, there's still one more mission that I've yet to talk about, one final mission that I have to put above this one because in my head, nothing comes close to toppling it. Alright lads, let's go find out which one's taking the gold. Are you really shocked that San Andreas would provide the mission that tops my list? Not only that, but does it even surprise you at all that its finale would be the one that I consider to be the greatest mission of all time? Since the first time that my brother showed me footage of this mission on YouTube, since neither of us were skilled enough to get there on our own, to the first time that I actually got to play it myself, to the first time that I managed to play it without using cheat codes, and all the way to now, End of the Line has always been a mission that's captivated me for its insane and over-the-top chaos, its climactic action, its emotional moments, its array of fun gameplay elements, and just the way it dramatically concludes my favorite video game of all time. I could probably spend hours telling you why I think this mission is so good, but I'll do my best to condense it down into a couple of short minutes for your viewing pleasure. After warding our way through the streets of Los Santos to reconquer them and rebuild Grove Street, we eventually intimidate our rivals into giving up Big Smoke's location, and as soon as we have it, we meet up with Sweet in a cutscene that's short, sweet, and straight to the point.
It's time for smoke. Alright, let's roll.
This is literally the whole cutscene, but it's gotta be one of the best in the game given the context of the rest of the story. Then following a short drive through the rioting city, our hero shares another dialogue with his brother where he tells him that he's gotta do this alone, because after being called a busta for so long for what happened over 5 years ago, the only way CJ can make amends with his past is by eliminating Smoke and his army all by himself. I know people use this cutscene as another way to shit on Sweet, and part of me thinks it would be awesome to see the Johnson brothers work in unity to take out the man who played them both. But regardless of those perspectives, I really love this cutscene for showing us the man that CJ has become throughout the course of the game. A man who knows what he's capable of, and a man who won't hide behind his family anymore. After this cutscene, we're finally revealed to the crack fortress that Big Smoke is holed up in, and we're given the instruction that we'll have to steal a whole SWAT tank and crash it through the building in order to gain entry. Also, I just want to say that before I ever played this mission, I had no idea that the tank from the Ballad of Gay Tony existed in this game, so seeing it here for the first time blew my mind when I was little. Now, if only it just just had that same explosive cannon instead of the fire hose. Anyway, once we brute force our way into the building and go through that first yellow marker, we'll realize that this is going to be a bigger mission than any other thus far when we see the message that says floor 1. And just to confirm this, the game then tells us that Smoke is all the way up on the 4th floor. Oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. What follows from here is a multi-level shootout against several gangs that we've made enemies of throughout the story, including the Ballas, the Vagos, the Rifas, and even the Russians. And I must say, it's still super surreal to see all these guys working together, but that just goes to show how powerful Smoke is if he can unite them all against us. Slowly but surely, we progress through all of these factions until we reach the big boy himself, who is so unbothered by our presence that he continues playing his video games and smoking his crack while we literally hold him at gunpoint. And as we talk to him, we quickly realize that this isn't the same lovable guy who hugged us when he first saw us after 5 years or helped us try to get the Grove back on his feet. Well, in retrospect, maybe he is, but it's here that we recognize that it was all just an act given how coldly he speaks to us. And it's made abundantly clear that he now wears a bulletproof vest in place of that mask he used to wear. Following our dialogue with him, we take part in a fun boss battle throughout Smoke's penthouse where we must drain his health while taking fire from him and his goons. In an additional effort to give himself an advantage, Smoke even cuts the lights, prompting us to use a set of thermal vision goggles to see him and the rest of our enemies. Soon enough, our bullets start to pierce this big bullet sponge, and after we defeat him, we get one final emotional dialogue between CJ and his former best friend, in which the villain explains that he got caught up in all of the money and the power, just before he bleeds out beside us. But we're not done just yet. While CJ mourns the death of the man he used to care about, he's interrupted by the real villain who caused all of this, Officer Tenpenny. Now usually, our interactions with the cop are balanced in his favor since he knows just how untouchable he is. But now that he doesn't have Pulaski or Hernandez by his side, and now that all of his leverage over CJ is gone, the only thing he has left to hold over us is that shotgun, which he uses to force us to load up his suitcase with Smoke's drug money. Then at the end of this tense cutscene, he tries to finish us off, but by taking advantage of his paranoia as well as his stormtrooper-ass aim, we manage to evade his shells and force him to retreat. However, not before he sets the building ablaze and cuts its power. This sends us on another shootout against the rest of Smoke's men as we try to leave the way we came, while being able to use night vision goggles to make it easier to see, but also while avoiding the building's growing fires. And we must do so before the fortress burns down. And once we escape, we're treated to the awesome sight of CJ escaping the explosions like a badass in a cutscene that makes you wonder why he didn't just use the fire escape. Nevertheless, when we make it outside, we see Tenpenny start to take off in a fire truck, but not before Sweets makes himself useful by jumping onto the back of it. I'm not exactly sure what he was trying to accomplish here, but this prompts us to give chase through the still riding streets of Los Santos while various Ballas and Vagos try to stop us. After a while of this, one of Tenpenny's rookies comes out to knock Sweet off, and when we catch him, we switch seats with him to initiate an autoscroller. From here on, we'll continue chasing our main antagonist while dealing with more enemy gangsters and even the police, until Tenpenny eventually crashes through the Ganton Bridge and lands down on Grove Street. We then get another great cutscene where the cop gives an unapologetic speech in which he claims he'd do it all again, sharing to the world that right up until the end, he believed that the evils he enacted were for the greater good. Then as he bleeds out, CJ and his allies stand over his corpse to share a few words, and our hero himself even takes a moment to get the last word over his villain.
See you around, officer.
Finally, we get one last cutscene where we and our friends discuss their future matters, including the management of their businesses across the state, the maintenance of our gang at home, and our ventures into Mad Dog's music career. What I particularly like about this cutscene is how it shows that even though our story is done, the lives of the characters we've come to know and love throughout the course of this game will continue on without us, seemingly for the better, thanks to the actions we took as the player. And after CJ heads out of the house, the credits roll to definitively end the greatest video game of all time. This mission right here truly checks all the boxes. It hits multiple emotions in memorable ways, be it by making you feel sad and hollow upon taking Big Smoke's life, or by making you feel relieved, happy, and fulfilled after watching Tenpenny meet his end. It features fun and unique mission design, especially for its time, by including a grand multi-level shootout against an army of enemies you've made throughout the story, as well as by giving you an extended chase sequence and an autoscroller that doesn't overstay its welcome. It's challenging, but it's not overly difficult like most missions in GTA 3. It's sad, but it doesn't leave you feeling empty like GTA 4. It's chaotic and climactic, but it's lengthy enough to let you enjoy the ride, unlike Vice City or Vice City Stories. It's satisfying to complete and doesn't feel rushed like GTA 5. And overall, for a lack of any other way to appropriately describe this mission, it's damn near perfect. Is nostalgia clouding my judgment at all when I say this? Probably, but I told you at the beginning that this is my list, and in my opinion, San Andreas' End of the Line is without a doubt the greatest mission in the history of Grand Theft Auto. And that's my list. So, now that I've spent the month saying everything I felt I needed to say, it's finally time to hear from you. What did you think of my list? Do you agree with where I placed everything, or do you feel that some missions should be moved around? Or do you feel that others should be on here instead? Please, tell me in the comments down below, and while you're there, feel free to tell me what you thought of this year's DT December. And be sure to like this video if you've enjoyed this series. Or if you thought this series was dog shit, leave a like anyway, or else Santa is giving you coal tomorrow. Sorry, I don't make the rules. And if you want to be really nice, feel free to hit that subscribe button too, so that you'll be notified when I release my next video. Oh, and feel free to share this video with some friends, so that they can binge through all of DT December Season 2 in one sitting, the way God intended. On that note, if you haven't seen my list from last year where I counted down GTA's 12 greatest villains of all time, then feel free to binge through Season 1 as well. Lastly, as of today, it is officially possible to win this year's $100 giveaway. So if you want to participate, or if you just want to stay up to date on whatever else I have going on, then be sure to join my Discord server linked in the description and on my channel. Alright, that's all I really have to say as far as my plugging goes, but before I go, there's one last thing I want to leave you all with. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank each of you for your support throughout this year. At the end of December 31st, 2024, I had exactly 2,750 subscribers, and as of right now, that has more than doubled to 5,700. I always wanted to believe I could have as many of you watching my content as I do currently, but I never knew it could really happen. So if you supported me by watching my videos, liking them, sharing them, or even just putting them on in the background while you did something else, I seriously just want to thank you so much. Now then, to those of you who celebrate it, I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Or if you follow any other faith or none at all, I wish you nothing but the best as you celebrate whatever you fancy. And of course, I hope each and every one of you have a wonderful new year. Thank you again to everybody for watching, and I'll see you all again real soon. Until then, this is your boy Doug the Dog 6, and I'm signing off.
I notice you out there in the cold. She bad, she getting nothing but gold. I'm mad, I should've probably called. I guess it's just another holiday I'm spending alone.
When I was just a boy, Christmas brought so much joy. Couldn't wait for the presents and laughter. I couldn't sleep late at night, looking for Santa with lights. Those are the memories I still remember. Then I became a man, lost sight of who I am.